second fold of house guests for its premiere today, Thursday the 24th. And I'm excited still with me is Mr. Idris, our artist, son of the soil. Good morning to you. So it's a pleasure to have you here. You look wonderful. And let me apologize for the delay.
Thank you for inviting me, and I say good day to all of Soufriere and all of St. Lucia.
It's a pleasure. Just before you begin, I'm going to ask you a little about your business. Tell us about who you are and what brought you back to this beautiful town.
Well, I've always been in love with St. Lucia as a child. I was brought up here, and I always came back every chance I got, to come back and be with my people.
Nice. Given your return, are there any changes that you've seen to the town and maybe even your people? How well did they receive you?
Yes, I've seen many changes, good development taking place, and I've seen improvement in athletics, in sports in general, in the cricket, and also in the music. And I've been very impressed, and I wanted to stay in St. Lucia for the rest of my life.
God's permit.
God permit, yes.
Yes, I'm happy you spoke about developments in sports. This is why we were a bit delayed with the excitement of Black Heart coming right here in Soufriere at the mini stadium tomorrow and Sunday, and also musically as well. This is one of the fraternities that is actually growing. If you're familiar with that, Soufriere had the first time the Soufriere Calypso competition as well, with the various placements. In learning, you were also supposed to have been part of that as well, but again, circumstances.
Yes.
But then, thank you even so much for the consideration. But having previous dialogue with you where you made mention of having composed maybe various pieces that you have also brought with you, you can share with the listening audience as well your music, the journey, and why you're here today.
Well, I must say with pleasure that I joined the body, a company that was sponsored by the government of St. Lucia called ECHO, which I became a member in 98. And they sponsored me in various shows in Castries, in um, Pigeon Point, and I enjoyed myself very much. I met other artists from St. Lucia and St. Vincent and other parts of the Caribbean. And it was very entertaining for the people to see that the local artists was, being represented in this form. And I only hope it continues that way. And as far as the football, as you were talking about, is concerned, I always believed, like with the cricket, that we have a West Indies side, that we should also have a West Indies football team. And I always believed this should be taking place because then we could enter into the World Cup as instead of being just playing island. So cricket in a way has been more represented than the football, if you understand what I'm saying,
Yes.
in the Caribbean as a whole.
I share your same sentiments as well. We know the big day on Sunday, which is a Jeune Creole. With the pieces that you have, is there anything featured there that speaks to our heritage tradition?
Yes, I've wrote and composed a song called "Dancing Body," which tried to encapsulate the feel of genre Creole, not speaking the Creole in it, but in English, but the feel, the music, which I believe that music has a language of its own. It's not particularly belongs to anybody, but it belongs to the international audience. I believe that in music, that music has a language of its own. It don't have a Creole language or English language or German or whatever. It's just the feel it has speaks to you. It's a magic.
Thank you. You've been here long enough, and I'm sure maybe you've heard the cries of the musicians, like enough resources are not being put in place for them, and even through all their hard work as well, that is not even being commended. I know maybe you may have had your own struggles in terms of the music industry.
That's correct. Um, it's a very hard struggle in the music industry because it's a vast field, and there are parts of it that there are parts of it in St. Lucia itself, I believe, is not being supported enough because of outside interest being more involved. And the local artist is more or less pushed aside. I've seen this happen, and or taken second place. Like local artists are warming up for outside artists, things like this, and not headlining. And I think that's a shame that we don't have artists headlining in our own country.
Given the opportunity you have here now as well, what changes or what appeal would you like to make for maybe those in authority can maybe take into consideration to change even the smallest possible change that they can make?
Well, I think finance has a lot to do with this, and government support. Really, if I've grew up with Caribbean, mostly influenced by Jamaican artists in the UK, and their situation in Jamaica is completely different to ours here in St. Lucia, where they have a lot of talent contests, which they pull out the good talent, and they they folk they showcase them, and also they have producers that will give them recording contracts, and we don't have this here. So if we could follow that pattern here, I think it will bear more fruit for the music business in St. Lucia if we can follow that pattern that I've seen in Jamaica, because the Jamaicans allowed me in to experience what they were doing, but I didn't really have a St. Lucian that would do the same for me until I came here to St. Lucia itself. But abroad, Jamaican, I was taken in by Jamaicans and shown the ropes, so to speak. And I was influenced into from the beginning of ska music and rocksteady music, and came to reggae music. But I think, as I said, it's an international music. I don't believe it belonged only to Jamaica, because music is international. That's my take on it. No one owns music, like the blues, the jazz, all that belongs to all of us. Wherever we are, what corner of the world we are, that belongs to us. It don't belong to one set of people.
Nice. Given what you know, how you plan on maybe assisting, especially young, talented artists in the community?
That's a good point. As I said, if we had more talent contests where we could see these people, this new talent, and supported them and bring them forward, give them some small recording contracts and so on, they it will blossom. If you would see, for instance, with the sports, for instance, going back to Julian Alfred, for instance, right, that she had to leave the island to go to Jamaica to get the facilities. It's the same thing happens here. We don't have facilities to facilitate the talent that we have, and we have a lot of talent, a lot of very good talent, but it's not supported enough here. That we have people have to go abroad. A lot of artists are in America. A lot of artists in the UK trying to make a name there so they can come back here. It shouldn't be so. It should be making it here to go there.
Which is true. I agree. And even to that as well, I'm happy you mentioned the contest. But again, if they do not have the recording studio, they're unable to really put those pieces together that would go on showcasing. I think maybe what is really needed for the community is a state of the art recording station that persons could come in. There may be a few, but then it's just home studio, makeshift, in the interim that people can go to. But then in terms of talking about again, one that is one that offers more of a professional setting and comfort. This is it's not here as yet,
This is it. Again, it's down to the cultural ministers and
which
people,
is true.
yeah, to set these apparatus,
Well,
put
sometimes
it
it's,
in
it's maybe
place.
just not the priority for now.
Well, yeah, because I think the more what I see, I mean, cricket gets a vast amount of the sports ministry help because they have support from other islands, and so everybody puts into the pot, so to speak, Barbados, Dominica, and so on, and so they get a lot of support. So we don't have that same structure when it comes to athletics, the field, and the music field. We don't have that because there's not everyone putting into the pot. It'll only be St. Lucia alone putting into that pot. And I don't know how the finance goes, and it's very difficult to check the finances what the government have to work with. But I don't see it being such a big deal. Personally, I think it's more to set up a few places, a few producers. We have producers here involved in music, so you can set up small studios. Nowadays, we have technology that is, you can do a recording studio with just a laptop, basically. So it's not a big thing. It just needs to be set up and encourage the youth to do it, to be involved in this.
Which is true as well. And I'm happy you're here to tell your story that perhaps you had to travel out, which is the UK, to actually harness your skill or talent. And the good thing is you return home sharing, with us the processes of that. Another thing, again, I have seen beautiful pieces right here in front of me. Maybe you can share with us maybe two or three of your composers as well.
And we'll do it. And as I said, we have to have the producers and the music. I haven't found any here, but since I've come to St. Lucia. I haven't been to a studio in St. Lucia at all, you know, and I went to many studios abroad. But I know they are here, but some people, they're selective and they tend to prefer just one artist and they'll keep the rest out and they'll produce just one artist and things like this. They don't produce artists in general, which I think is that's the way the shame is. It should be everyone that wants to do something in music should be given a chance, should be given a chance to do it and not just say, oh, I'm just going to produce this artist. I like her or him the best. And this hasn't helped. It should be an open field, a bigger field there.
I agree, but in sometimes, like you may mention, it is certain cultures that we cannot get away from as much as we know. It is sad and it's not giving everybody an opportunity to harness their skill, but you have again to venture out to make the best and be who you want to become despite the obstacles. If it's not happening here, you have to leave yard to actually make it happen somewhere else. And after that process has happened, this is where everybody embrace you, you know.
But I didn't leave St. Lucia to actually get it right, to be involved in music. Music took me over. I was a child when I was sent for by my parents to the UK. I was at the age of 10 when they sent for me, but I got involved in the Caribbean community and going to parties and dances and so on. They had what they call the sound systems, and that's where the music took me over. I said, well, that's where I just loved the ska music. At that time, they were just playing brass instruments. It wasn't so much vocal, you know, and I fell in love with that. And I just carried on being part of that. And until I recorded some songs, I did some songs, and some people encouraged me. And the encouragement I got from other people that was good artists, people like Bob Andy. I don't know if you ever heard of him, and you know Delroy Wilson. There's some old artists from Jamaica encouraged me. Said, "Go ahead," and some producers. They go ahead, go ahead. You're good. You got something. Encourage me, and I was happy to do it. I've done talent contests. I won talent contests against artists that made their name internationally. Horace Andy and Tapazuki, people like that I was in a talent contest with, and I won above them, but they went on to be bigger artists than myself, because they was more supported by the people in their island, in Jamaica. So I'm not begrudging them for becoming bigger, but I still think that, St. Lucia could do the same for the artists. That's why, because I felt let down now by my own people. So in that sense, that was dependent on them to help me, but my own people couldn't help me. And there's an artist called Urias Joseph. I don't know if you ever heard of him. He's also a St. Lucian. And he had the same problem. We was taken over by a company called Jetstar, and they put music on their compilation albums. But again, it was nothing to do with St. Lucia. So I mean, but it was hell, and I wanted to see the same. There's a guy here called Blackbeard that was involved with a band called Aswad and Matumbi, and he came here and opened a record subsidiary in Castries for Jetstar. But when Jetstar closed down, they had to close that down. I thought that was the beginning of something happening in St. Lucia in the big way for the music and the musicians, but again, it was the Jamaicans control that. So when their money went down, they had to close that interest they had here. So that stopped that.
Wow.
Mhm.
Thank you so much for the sharing. 23 minutes after the hour in Surface and Lucia and the Eastern Caribbean. If you're just joining us, we have Idris, the
Ibis.
Ibis, the artist. Why am I thinking of Idris?
I know. I was going to
Yes,
say that
Idris, the
before.
artist. But then sympathizing with you. I'm really sorry to hear about, your journey, but nonetheless, you continue to persevere. And this is why we're having that interesting conversation this morning as well. I'm not sure if my colleague would want to share in anything there in, the cries of artists, as a DJ, musician, still lending ear to the music and playing what is being made available to us.
What you mentioned is for real. I feel some more effort and attention should be put in, especially the crying of those in the business. All right, the artists, the promoters, the producers. You know, I totally agree. And when you made mention about headlining, boy, I don't know what criteria the guys are looking for, but headlining in terms of like being most of them are always an opening act for some international artists. And some there's justification can be made to that. Yeah, that needs to be fixed for real. Again,
But who can fix
is
it?
again is you will hear like is what the artist, the individual is actually bringing, and how big of a person. or as a seller, is he or she on the international market? Sorry, and so forth, so on, and so forth.
Yes.
You know.
What you said there is very interesting because, as I said about that headlining, was because the people here is not they're confused. There's so much different genres of music
Mm-hmm.
in the island that no one is picking one in particular to go forward with. And they think maybe if you're a reggae artist that you're actually taking something from Jamaica and it's not exactly solution. So you have that problem. So if we're doing Creole with like genre chorus mentioned, that is mostly looked upon as being more rooted as solution. Creole being and there's a confusion there now. But like I said, music is international. It has its own language. That's why I mentioned earlier.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it don't have to be a music for one place. It has to be a music for all places. And that's what we have to get over. We must stop thinking of traditionals. Get away from when it came to music. So because when it comes to sports, it's international, isn't it? It's
Yes, it
not
is.
just they can win a medal for St. Lucia, but everybody appreciates that one athlete.
Mm-hmm.
See, everyone in the world say, "Oh, that's a gold medalist in the Olympics." So the Olympics is in general.
Which is true.
See? And so the music should be looked upon in the same way, not saying, "Oh, it's just a solution artist," but it's an artist, from St. Lucia, not a St. Lucian artist, but an artist from St. Lucia. So you have to get the terminology right.
Yes.
You know.
Negus Kinto, he says, remember Nereus Joseph, my son, only if was done by him. And he says, I also remember DJ Tipper with the Jetstar subsidiary in Castrates.
Ah, that's good. Yeah. Well, this is the links I had in the UK. If you remember, Nereus Joseph was originally from Canaries,
Okay.
and he came here for the first time and did a show for the first time on emancipation in Soufre Market. And sadly, he passed away about a year later, and it was very sad that most St. Lucians didn't know this man. And he had hits in the UK, you know. He was a born St. Lucian. And, a lot of people didn't know that. And I followed him, and he knew about me. And there was a guy that produced him, another Jamaican again, because he worked with, I don't know if you heard of Dennis Brown, a big Jamaican art.
Yes.
Well, Nereus used to work with him, with Dennis Brown, and it was on the same label, Deb Records. Yeah.
Okay. Nice. Interesting as well, information, you know, putting some things to light musically. It's almost, our time with just a few more minutes inside. I don't know, what would you like to maybe leave with everyone who's locked on at this very moment as well, online and even the various communities?
Well, I would like to express and underline what I've said about music being international and have its own language, and I would like people to see it that way and not just see reggae as just being Jamaican, but also respect the St. Lucians that sing reggae and respect them as being artists of their own and not just following another island's music. I think that is wrong. Because when we sang ballads, for instance, we sang country, no one said that we was copying America. So why should we say that we're copying Jamaica? You understand that point? When people sang soul songs, rhythm and blues, no one said, "Oh, St. Lucians sing rhythm and blues, or they're copying America, or when they sing calypso, they're copying Trinidad and Tobago. No, it was all the circle of music. There's no copying. It's all one. Music is a oneness, and it brings a oneness to people. So you shouldn't say that's what's happening now. That's why we're not headlining, because they're saying the reggae belongs to Jamaicans, so the Jamaicans are headlining and we are opening. This is the wrong thing going on here, because there's artists just as good here doing reggae, and there is Jamaican artists. So why are we doing this?
I strongly agree. He went on to say, been making hits from the late 70s and got awards for his music.
That's curious.
Yes.
But he wasn't recognized as much in Saint Lucia. That was the point I was making.
Yes, sadly, it goes back to that very same thing you were saying. Well,
Yeah,
we're hoping, with all due respect, that this will change. Let's change. The trajectory for sure. Again, let me just say kudos to you for, your achievements. Sometimes even without the assistance to place you where you needed to go, and trying to seek other interventions to make it happen on your own. That is still self satisfying. Gratitude to those who helped that journey for you.
of course.
Your partner has been very instrumental as well in helping. You
Of
have that
course.
family support too.
Yes.
So just leaving this opportunity to maybe just reach out to those who helped you, those
And
who rally your cause.
yes, and this is exactly what I'm carrying forward myself. To try and infuse that within the youth in Saint Lucia, to do that, because at the time I'm coming at the end of my thing because of age. So I think I want to pass on my experiences and my knowledge of that business to the new generations that's coming. And while I have the life, I think that is the work I should be doing. You know, now I should be doing this, and I try as much as I can to do it through my influence and who I meet, and so on. So, and I appreciate those who take it on board, like yourself, to to help, to give me this chance today, even to in this interview, to to carry forward that aim that I have. And I thank you very much, Ms. Gabriel.
Thank you so much for that. How would you like to close? Any motivation, something that keeps you going?
Yes, well, as I said, you and other people, other radio stations in St. Lucia, has taken my music on board and showed appreciation to what I've done, and that has given me a lot of encouragement and a lot of hope to go forward, to carry on, to inspire others that want to follow in the music industry as a whole.
At this time, I say thank you so much to you. It's been a pleasure to have this course, and being able to afford this opportunity for the listening audience as well to hear your journey. This is where I see. Thank you so much. It's been an awesome pleasure. To our listening audience as well, thank you for tuning in to the first edition of House Guests for a Thursday. The program has now moved to a Thursday. So I'm asking for everybody's cooperation, support in this regard to you. I want to say thank you